This security guard, when his corruption was exposed, attacked the girl without any mercy. He even intended to kill her in the water tank. So there's this woman, Jio-woo. She's living with her younger brother and her 2 grandkids. Life in their neighborhood was pretty normal until this water delivery guy started parking his truck right at the entrance of their alleyway. And get this, it's a no parking zone. Now, according to this delivery dude, the scariest person on earth isn't some power-hungry maniac or someone who ignores everyone's opinions. Nope, it's the person who's got nothing better to do than stick their nose in everyone else's business. And guess who fits that description perfectly? You guessed it, Jio-woo. See, last week, he accidentally bumped into Jio-woo's grandson with his truck. Ever since then, she's been on his back like white on rice, hounding him to get his broken horn fixed. She even drags her grandkids out in the middle of the night to hunt down illegally parked cars and snap pictures for evidence. Right now, the poor guy's racked up 11 parking tickets because of Jio-woo's crusade. If she sends in just one more complaint, he's gonna lose his driver's license. Finally, he caves. He promises Jio-woo that he'll get the horn fixed first thing in the morning. He's basically begging, saying, if you keep this up, I'm gonna be eating dirt. Hearing that promise, Jio-woo finally backs down. For her, forgetting about compensation for the accident is fine. But for everyone's safety, no matter how busy he is, that car horn must be fixed. Mission accomplished, Jio-woo walks her grandkids home. As they reach their building, they run into Duan, Jio-woo's younger brother, just getting off work from his law firm. He's a lawyer. His work is very busy, so he always asks his sister to take care of the house and children. In the elevator, Duan asks his son about his day. He knows that all week his son has been following his aunt around, taking pictures of illegally parked cars. He heard that tomorrow he plans to go to the car repair shop with Jio-woo. Duan decides he has to have a serious conversation with his sister. Meanwhile, Jio-woo is carrying her granddaughter, Min-young, up the stairs on her back. She has a feeling something is about to happen. Sure enough, the second they walk in the door, Duan demands that she move out immediately. He's been annoyed by her over-the-top sense of justice for ages. Jio-woo keeps her cool and tells her brother to pay her for being a free housekeeper for the last 5 years. She types some numbers into a calculator, then shows him the number, 170 million won, roughly 130,000 US dollars. Duan loses it. He throws a bank card with 200 million won, roughly 150,000 US dollars, at her and tells her to pack her bags and leave tonight. But watching her walk away, he can only sigh. He really doesn't understand why his sister can't just live a normal life like everyone else. Jio-woo, fresh from her epic showdown with her brother, finds herself homeless. First thing she does is head to her other brother, Seon, who's a cop, hoping to crash at his place for a bit. But wouldn't you know it, just as she arrives, Seon's district gets hit with a string of murders. He's got to run off on duty before he can even find her a pillow to sleep on. With nowhere else to go, Jio-woo ends up in this super isolated apartment complex way out in the boonies. Because it's so far from anything, the rent's dirt cheap. The security guard at the complex is totally shocked to see someone moving in. Who would willingly choose to live in this middle-of-nowhere place? In his eyes, Jio-woo's got to be a few screws loose. On her very first night in this dumb, an ear-splitting noise erupts, driving Jio-woo absolutely crazy. She figures it'll stop eventually, but it just keeps going and going. Jio-woo marches upstairs and bangs on the door of the apartment above, demanding they keep it down. But no matter how hard she knocks, there's dead silence from inside. Then, the instant she stops knocking, the noise instantly vanishes. Before she can even process what just happened, Jio-woo turns to leave and bumps into this woman with messy hair and dead eyes. The woman is clutching a knife in her hand and muttering something about sending anyone who makes noise straight to hell. Jio-woo is freaked out of her mind. She races downstairs to the security guard, telling him to call the cops ASAP. But this security guard is totally jaded. He's like, calling the cops won't do any good. Turns out, for the past 6 months, this building's been getting hit with crazy noises every morning at 4 a.m. No one can figure out where the noise is coming from, and the cops are useless. As a result, the tenants have been slowly but surely moving out. The only ones left are the people who own their apartments, and even they're on the verge of losing them. This noise is literally driving them insane. But Jio-woo? She's determined to find out what's causing this noise and put a stop to it, once and for all. The next morning, Jio-woo calls in her cop brother, Seon, along with the residence representative, Ji-won, and the security guard to inspect the apartment upstairs. The security guard grumbles that this was a waste of time and starts complaining that the building should have been torn down a long time ago. Jio-woo doesn't pay him any mind. She figures he's just trying to avoid trouble. So why haven't the cops been able to catch the culprit? Seon explains that the sound travels through the steel structure of the building, creating a resonance that makes it impossible to pinpoint the exact location. Plus, every time the cops show up, the noise magically stops, so they've never been able to catch anyone in the act. Hearing this, Jio-woo is even more determined to get to the bottom of it. She knows this isn't some random prank. Someone's deliberately making this noise to force the residents to leave, and she's convinced there's some kind of shady plot going on behind the scenes. After some digging, she discovers that the whole apartment complex is slated for demolition. Turns out there's this massive redevelopment project planned, and the residents, the city council, and the redevelopment association are all locked in a huge battle over it. G1, the residents' rep, is dead set against tearing the building down. It all clicks. The redevelopment association is planting people in the building to create the noise every night, trying to scare the residents away and clear the way for the demolition. Finally figuring out the direction to investigate makes Jio-woo feel much lighter. But then, she looks up and holy crap, she sees a figure standing on the roof of the apartment complex. She shouts for G1 to call the cops. Stat, it's a man and he's crying and drinking. He explains that the constant noise has been causing him to make mistakes at work, and he ended up getting fired. Just then, Jio-woo yells, startling him so bad he almost falls off the roof. The guy's sobbing about how he wants to live, but life just won't let him. Jio-woo pleads with him to come down, promising to help him find a solution. The man's name is Suk, and he's 36. He's super superstitious, so he dropped 250,000 won on a fortune teller to perform a ritual to ward off bad luck. But he hasn't seen any good luck, only lost money. That's when G1 chimes in, saying that the fortune teller lives on the 3rd floor and that the residents have only managed to hold on this long thanks to the lucky charms he hands out. Hearing this, Jio-woo gets another crazy idea. She suspects the fortune teller is creating the noise to sell his lucky charms and make a fortune off everyone's misery. But when Jio-woo confronts him, the fortune teller explodes, calling her theory ridiculous. If I chased everyone away with noise, he yells, I'd be cutting off my own lifeline. Jio-woo is back to square one. Just then, her brother Duan calls. Thinking that her brother has finally recognized her value, she smugly answers the phone. But nope, he's just calling to ask where the Kia garage is. Turns out, her grandkids have secretly run off to the auto repair shop to watch them fix cars. Jio-woo races to the shop and finds the kids. That's when Duan shows up. He's furious, accusing Jio-woo of always sticking her nose in other people's business. Why do you always meddle? He says. Why don't you do something useful for yourself like, I don't know, make yourself look nice? Jio-woo's used to these kinds of complaints. No matter what anyone says, she's just going to do what she wants. Jio-woo gets home and discovers that someone has splattered red paint all over her door, with the words "Get out" scrawled on it. Cautiously, she enters the apartment and pulls a young woman out from under the blanket. The woman explains that she's studying for her civil service exam and recently thought the apartment was abandoned, so she came in to take a nap. She swears she didn't splash the paint. Jio-woo decides to check the security cameras to see who vandalized her door, but the security guard says the whole system is busted. Jio-woo has no other choice but to change her door code. That night, right on schedule at 4 a.m., the familiar ear-splitting noise started up again. At the exact same time, the fortune teller sneaks out of his apartment with a backpack, looking super shady. He turns around and nearly jumps out of his skin when he sees Jio-woo standing there in the dark. But the noise keeps going, proving the fortune teller isn't the one causing it. The next day, the fortune teller takes Jio-woo to a cemetery. Turns out it's the anniversary of his wife's death. While there, the fortune teller hands Jio-woo a lucky charm and reveals that pretty much everyone in the apartment complex has bought charms from him except for these 4 apartments. So those must be the ones causing the problem. Jio-woo rushes back to the apartment complex with a hand-drawn map and gathers Ji-won and Suk to strategize. They start analyzing the situation. Apartment 801 moved out a few days ago. 503's owner leaves for work early every morning. And the woman in 203 has been obsessed with religion since her husband died and spends every day at church. So those 3 are off the hook. That leaves apartment 704, and that guy is the most suspicious. Ji-won says she accidentally saw a bag full of women's clothing when he first moved in. Zeroing in on this new lead, the 3 head down to the garbage area and discover a bunch of strange items that have been thrown away. As they're discussing it, Dong-oh suddenly appears behind them, scaring Ji-won and Suk so badly that they hide behind Jio-woo. Jio-woo recognizes him. She saw him being taken into the police station a few days ago for carrying dangerous objects. Turns out, he's a streamer. The backpack is full of sound effect props he uses to help his fans fall asleep. Inside his brightly colored apartment, Jio-woo notices a peculiar chart with sound wave frequencies. Turns out, Dong-oh has also been tormented by the noise. He's secretly been measuring the sound intensity on different floors at 4 a.m., but he still can't pinpoint the source. Suddenly, Jio-woo has an idea. She proposes that everyone simultaneously measure the noise. The plan is that exactly at 4 a.m., each person will stand in apartment number 1 on each floor and use a phone app to record the sound frequency 3 times, then switch rooms and finally compare the data to find the source of the noise. Before they put the plan into action, Geo-Wool finds the security guard and earnestly asks him to turn off the hallway lights. But just as they're getting ready, disaster strikes. Her young granddaughter unexpectedly shows up. Geo-Wool quickly calls her brother, suggesting that the kids stay at her place for the night. Duan hesitates for a moment but finally agrees. It's almost 4 a.m. The security guard cuts the power, plunging the entire apartment building into darkness. 6 people spread out to their assigned floors, ready to go. Right at 4 a.m., the familiar noise erupts right on cue, and everyone frantically starts recording data. After completing their task, the group gathers on the 5th floor. They discover that the noise level on the 4th floor ranges from 82 to 93 dB, clearly higher than on the 7th floor. The fortune teller tripped on his way over, but still remembers that the sound level on the 5th floor was between 80 and 90 dB. Dong-Oa's recording from the 6th floor is also close to those numbers. But then, disaster strikes. Ji-won's phone automatically updates its system, wiping out all her data. Just then, Suk shouts from the 2nd floor. Everyone rushes down to find the woman from apartment 203 looking icy cold. Suk immediately opens his notebook. The numbers all exceed 100 decibels, proving that the source of the noise is on the 2nd floor. Immediately, Ji-won calls for a patrol car to come and assist. Meanwhile, Geo-Wool runs to the security guard's office to ask him to turn the power back on, but he's nowhere to be found. The woman from apartment 203 is freaking out and trying to leave the scene, questioning why they're only investigating her when there are 4 apartments on the floor. Ji-won immediately refutes her, saying that she's the only one currently living on the 2nd floor. At that moment, Geo-Wool returns and reminds the woman that if she doesn't cooperate, the whole building will assume she's the one causing the noise. Finally, the woman reluctantly allows 2 police officers to enter her apartment. Upon inspection, Duan-ho discovers that one of the floorboards is a little loose. Taking a closer look, he sees blue marks on the cement beneath, and the woman's face instantly turns pale. Everyone understands what's going on. She's been regularly hitting that spot. She is taken away in a police car. The neighbors in the building are overjoyed. The ongoing noise problem has finally been solved, and everyone can finally get a good night's sleep. After that, Geo-Wool uses her own money to hire someone to repair the elevator. But as soon as the repairman leaves, someone suddenly emerges from the vacant apartment 202. Geo-Wool sees it happen and immediately takes off after them. She chases the person for a long time until they're exhausted and finally stop. Geo-Wool questions him, asking if he was sneaking into the vacant apartment to steal things. He frantically explains that he's just a homeless person and sneaked in to sleep there a few nights ago when it was cold. Then he reveals that the woman from apartment 203 wasn't actually the one making the noise. He said that that night he heard an unusually loud noise, even more disturbing than sleeping on the street. He went to collect his belongings and leave. As he opened his bedroom door, he saw someone hitting the wall in the living room of apartment 202. He was so scared that he just hid in his room until the noise stopped. Geo-Wool rushes back to apartment 202 and discovers a patterned plastic pipe on the floor. She picks it up and taps it against the wall. The sound is exactly the same as the noise from 4 a.m. Geo-Wool realizes immediately that the woman from apartment 203 was framed. She finds the security guard and urgently explains that a witness saw the real culprit, and that the woman who was arrested is innocent. The security guard is still bewildered when Geo-Wool gets a face full of water. It's the woman from apartment 203, just released from jail. She cries hysterically, saying she only went outside because she felt suffocated, and that the hole in the floor was caused by her deceased dog. Geo-Wool feels terrible. She apologizes profusely, but the woman refuses to forgive her. Just then, Geo-Wool's younger brother comes to visit and accidentally witnesses the scene. He turns to leave. Geo-Wool frantically chases after him to explain, "But you should go home rather than cause problems here." At that moment, Geo-Wool remembers her granddaughter and says she'll take the kid to school. Duan can't hold it in any longer and breaks down. "Do you even know where she is? Do I need to remind you how I picked her up?" He tells her that she is unfit to change the whole world, and then he leaves. Geo-Wool is stunned. She remembers that years ago, she promised to pick up her granddaughter at noon, but she overslept and didn't go. The teacher and driver were also negligent, leaving the little girl alone on the shuttle bus. At the hottest time of day, the car windows couldn't be opened. The child died. The shock was so immense that Geo-Wool developed a delusion, often hallucinating that her granddaughter was still alive. Geo-Wool sadly spends the whole night awake and finally decides to listen to her brother and move somewhere else. She drags her suitcase to the security guard's office to pay her utility bills, but the security guard is nowhere to be found. After a while, Ji-won runs over frantically. When she sees Geo-Wool about to leave, her face is filled with disappointment. Geo-Wool consoles her, saying that even if she moves away, she'll often come back to visit everyone. She gives her some money to pass on to the security guard. Just as she's about to leave, Jio-wol suddenly sees the security guard coming out of another apartment complex. When he sees Jio-wol, he starts to say hello, but immediately turns away and hurries off. As she steps out of the apartment complex gate, a man calls Jio-wol over. It's the water delivery guy from apartment 503, Hyung. Jio-wol confesses that the real culprit hasn't been caught and that the woman was framed. But Hyung just smiles and thanks her. Either way, I've been able to get a good night's sleep. Hearing this, Jio-wol feels a little relieved. Jio-wol asks Hyung if he knows when the security guard started working there. He remembers it being about 6 months ago because the security office was set up because of all the noise. Jio-wol gets suspicious again. She remembers that the security guard was missing during the 4 a.m. incident, and also that she hadn't mentioned the noise coming from apartment 202 when she was providing clues to the security guard. But he brought up that apartment immediately. All the clues instantly connect. Hyung also suddenly remembers that he'd seen him before as the leader of the demolition team at a construction site. Another resident who wakes up early also mentioned seeing the security guard sleeping with earplugs in. This proves that the security guard arranged for someone else to create the noise on the night of the incident, because the real culprit had already been handed over by him. Jio-wol heads to the community office to check resident records. Can't be someone who lives in the apartment complex. After reviewing the records, only 2 cases are suspicious: Dong-oh and Suk. Dong-oh was live streaming at dawn, and the police have confirmed that he wasn't at the scene. Suk is always using the excuse of ill health to refuse to let anyone into his house. Jio-wol immediately runs to apartment 403 and presses the intercom. Suk says he's not feeling well and can't open the door. Jio-wol bluntly asks him if he was ordered by the security guard to create the noise, saying that if he tells her the truth, she will definitely help him get justice. At this point, Suk agrees to open the door. His face is bruised and purple. He admits to creating the noise, but warns her, "No one can save me unless this whole building is torn down." Then he slams the door shut. Just then, a blood-curdling scream echoes from the elevator. An ambulance quickly takes an injured neighbor away. Jio-wol checks the equipment room and discovers that the elevator cable has been cut. Immediately afterward, she sees the security guard walking out with a pair of pliers in his hand. Jio-wol angrily storms into the security office, drags him to the equipment room, and asks him, "Even if you want to get a cut of the money from lowering the demolition compensation, you can't do this to the elevator." She also finds a spray paint can that proves he painted the graffiti on her door. The security guard feigns ignorance, saying he doesn't understand. Jio-wol exposes him. She reveals that he hired Suk to be his scapegoat to create the noise so that he could get money from the construction company. She warns him that she will give all the evidence to the police and the residents. The security guard reveals his true colors. He pulls out his security guard ID card, saying, "This was signed and issued by the police commissioner himself, so petty cases like this can't do anything to me. Go ahead and give it to the police if you're so good." Jio-wol doesn't believe him. She turns to leave and head to the police station when she's suddenly attacked. At the same time, Doo-won is flipping through the family photo album when he discovers a hidden video clip of a conversation between Jio-wol and the security guard. In the video, Jio-wol is smiling and staring at the security guard, asking him, "Are you hiding anything in your safe?" The security guard's expression immediately turns panicked. Actually, an hour earlier, after discovering that the elevator cable had been cut, Jio-wol was stopped by Suk as she was leaving the equipment room. He revealed that the security guard is actually a crime boss who used to help construction companies with demolitions and was involved in predatory lending. 6 months ago, Suk couldn't pay his debt and was constantly harassed. The security guard forced him to make the noise at 4 a.m. in exchange for forgiving the interest. Jio-wol grabs Suk's hands and promises to help, encouraging him to live like a human being. She makes a plan. She will distract the security guard and pull him out of the equipment room, and Suk will gather the residents to act as if he is the culprit making the noise, so that everyone can let off steam on him and reveal his plan. While Jio-wol is stalling for time with the security guard, the others have to break into the security office and get the evidence from the safe that proves he's colluding with the construction company. Everyone who hears the plan realizes that Jio-wol is risking her life. They all rush to the security office. Suk remembers that the security guard uses a gold key to open the safe, so they search the entire room. Just then, Jio-wol bursts in, asking, "Where's my sister?" Ji-won quickly explains everything that happened. Jio-wol remembers seeing the key hanging from the security guard's belt. As the group is discussing how to grab the key, Jio-wol anxiously asks, "Where's Jio-wol?" At that moment, Suk suddenly realizes that she was supposed to return a long time ago. Doo-won guesses that his sister is in danger. He rushes to the equipment room to save her. Outside, the security guard knows that things aren't going well. He decides to run back to his office, but sees Ji-won and the residents waiting for him. Before they act, Suk instructs, Don't just focus on beating him. Getting the key is what's important. Just as he finishes, Donald lunges. The others pile on top of the security guard, pinning him to the ground. They almost get the key, but the security guard's goons suddenly arrive. Suk tries to grab the key, but can't. Panicked, he yanks off the security guard's pants and throws them to Jiwon. She tries to run but is blocked by the goons, and they start fighting each other. At that moment, Bayal manages to grab the key and throws it down to Suk, but he's unlucky, and it falls down a drain. Everyone is stunned. The security guard is laughing triumphantly. But just then, Jio-wol appears on the rooftop holding a yellow file folder. It turns out that 10 minutes earlier, after Suk mentioned finding the key, Jio-wol knew all along the security guard's safe combination. When he had previously changed the building's door code, the security guard casually suggested using his birthday. Then, when he showed his security guard ID, Jio-wol saw his birthday was September 4th. So the two sisters secretly broke into the security office, entered the code, and successfully got the evidence. Jio-wol grabs a microphone from her younger brother and loudly reads the contents of the file over the building's loudspeaker system. Residents rush out into the hallways to listen. The security guard is furious and orders his goons to steal the documents. Jio-wol is pushed over and the file is snatched. He opens it but only finds advertising leaflets. It turns out that Jio-wol had hidden the real file in her backpack, and she is escaping. The security guard orders his goons to chase after her. Then, Duan advises him to surrender quickly. The security guard is about to argue and looks down to see the lawyer's badge peeking out of his shirt. He knows he has messed with the wrong person and immediately lets go. Duan calmly brushes off his shirt and asks him, "Do you know what's the scariest thing in the world?" Meanwhile, Jio-wol is desperately running. Right then, her cousin Seon is at the gate. He sees someone chasing Jio-wol and immediately throws his handcuffs, knocking down the goon. At this time, Duan warns the security guard to be ready, because it's only just beginning. That's the end of the film. Moms, please like and subscribe, and click the bell to be notified of the latest films.